I'm running my metronome in the background to give those of you with OCD an OCD attack. But it's also incredible how it sets the timing. Any musician knows that it's all about timing. It was the same with talk radio, same with YouTube. If you don't have timing, you don't know what I'm talking about. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. See? It's in you or it's not in you. Either you dance or you don't dance. I'm a dancer. I'm not a prancer. So I was lying in bed not too long ago. I mean, I just got out of bed, truthfully. And I think I'm going to do this every morning until I don't want to do it anymore. It's so beautiful to be able to do it, and only when I want to do it. And I don't have to call a radio station and say, can I go on the air today or not? Which ads do I have to read? I love ads, don't get me wrong. But this is a free form. I mean, there's ads in these YouTube pieces. I get it. It's up to them, not me. So I'm laying in bed. Dawn comes up. I get up at dawn no matter when I go to sleep. I always awake at dawn, very much like Hemingway. He said he never missed a dawn, the poor man. Was still the greatest American writer I've ever read. I've read a lot. I've read thousands of books, fiction and nonfiction. And I'm rereading Ernest Hemingway. I'll talk about that another time. I actually was going to do a whole show and read you some pieces from Hemingway. There's no end to what I can do with you, for you. My mind is so active. It never sleeps. It's the mind that never sleeps. It's like New York City. They used to say the city that never sleeps. I'm very much a product of that city. Is it bad? Okay, I'm getting all of the comments right now. So I laying in bed and I was thinking about having Jake Crapper from CNN doing a presidential debate is about as absurd as it gets. And I was trying to imagine some comedy routine of Jake Crapper's questions to Joe Biden and then to Donald Trump. And I thought they'd go along the lines of this way. These are not totally thought out, but you could see how they could be developed. So, hello, I'm Jake Crapper of CNN, and today we're beginning the presidential debates between President Joseph Biden and the criminal Donald Trump. The first question goes to the president. President Biden, when you inherited the presidency, inflation was running at about 35% after Donald Trump's disastrous regime. And you brought it down to 5% now. How did you achieve this in so short a period of time, Mr. President? And of course, then Joe Biden would give the answer that they have printed out for him. The next question would go to the criminal Donald Trump. Prisoner Trump, when you orchestrated the invasion of the White House by your mobs of supporters, did you think they would be stopped by the heroic Capitol Police? Or did you expect them to actually burn the Capitol to the ground? You have 5 seconds to answer. You get the drift. It's sickening. I wake up this morning, it got even worse. Biden invokes executive privilege, blocks her tapes. You know how big this is? The criminal administration invoked executive privilege to block the release of audio recordings from his interview with special counsel Robert Hur, who investigated Biden's handling of classified documents. This decision comes in the midst of House Republicans' preparations to hold Attorney General Merrick Garland in contempt of Congress for not providing the recordings. In other words, the AG is withholding recordings because he's hiding something. And so now Biden steps in, and Biden claims that releasing these tapes would harm future law enforcement efforts. This is right out of the Soviet playbook, because previous legal actions were taken against Trump officials for exactly the same claims. It's frightening. I actually, I'm an optimistic guy, or I wouldn't have survived all these years in the media. I would have either just retired or whatever, but I continue to hold out hope that somehow something's going to save this country from this gang of criminals that has destroyed the nation. Maybe I'm falsely optimistic. I don't really know. Maybe I should just read Hemingway. Yesterday, I did a YouTube piece that I thought was one of my best on politics and religion, mythology, magic, and madness. I thought it was very good, and it combined so much of my educational background and all my reading. I've read thousands of books and studied so many different cultures. And yesterday's YouTube piece incorporated a lot of that. And I realized that we have a YouTube generation and a TikTok generation now that is absolutely stupid. The TikTok generation are the young pioneers of the ex-Soviet Union or the Khmer Rouge of Pol Pot. They're capable of murdering the elders of the community. If they read on TikTok that it's okay to go in and shoot their neighbor who voted for Donald Trump, many of them would do it. Can the nation be saved? I don't know. I'm not God. I think God left the theater a long time ago. God gave up on America. I'm not speaking for him. I'm just saying he's not here. He would never let a criminal administration like this get away with as much as they're getting away with. From the wreckage of our borders to the bastardization of our language to spitting on our culture, stepping on it. Next question from Jay Crapper, one of the greatest propagandists ever seen in the history of the media. The man, if there was actually justice, should be put in prison for 25 years for what he's done to the country, Jay Crapper. What a piece of crap he is. Now, I have nothing against the word crapper, by the way. It's actually an honor to say that I know the history of the name Crapper. He was the man who invented the flush toilet in England, so his name was Crapper, so they named it a crapper. It's the strangest thing in the world. But Jay Crapper actually references the other part of that name, which is the functionality of the toilet and what it actually does. He has flushed truth down the drain. I dipped into one of my older books this morning on the way to the theater, an older one called Liberalism is a Mental Disorder, and I found something in it. If you think that Jay Crapper is something new, all you got to do is look back upon Judy Woodruff of NPR. The woman looks like she's 103. Her face has collapsed on her completely, no matter how many Botox injections they've given her. And yet she's still on the air earning hundreds of thousands of dollars of taxpayer money a year. So I found a chapter in Liberalism is a Mental Disorder entitled Alien Invasion. Now remember, when many people who claim to be the progenitors of these ideas were not even in the media, this book was published in 2005. And this chapter on alien invasion is worth listening to. And I wrote this. I said, allowing anybody, even one person, to sneak into America in a post-9/11 world is nothing short of suicidal. What if that illegal alien was carrying a nuclear device, sarin gas, or any number of other biowarfare agents stuffed into his backpack? I wrote. Not only are we allowing a deluge of illegals to flow across the border, we often tie the hands of the men and women whose job it is to defend our national security. As I was working on this book, I came across an article that sickened me. It's the story of Richard Gonzalez, Luis Gomez, and Carlos Renya, 3 U.S. immigration officers who had made thousands of arrests without prior incident. These hardworking, uncorruptible men were fined and sentenced to jail. Their crime? They failed to give timely medical treatment to an illegal alien who had been injured during a raid. Does it get any more upside down than this? Now, remember, I wrote this in 2005. U.S. District Judge Lee Rosenthal obviously has her head up her robe. I hope that she's in hell right now. I don't know where she is. I hope Judge Lee Rosenthal's family suffers for what she's done to this country instead of benefiting from the corruption of that rotten, stinking creep in a black robe. The stench from the bench is making me clench. This fraud judge, Lee Rosenthal, refused to accept the testimony of Officer Gonzalez, a veteran border agent who, when he said he believed the victim was faking an injury. You've got to remember, these border agents see everything on the front lines, the faked injuries, the bogus excuses, the forged identities. Instead, Fake Judge Rosenthal sent their officers to jail. But wait, that's not all. The family of the illegal alien proceeded to sue our government in federal court and in turn won $2.15 million. This is in 2005. Tell me how an illegal alien who by definition has no right to be inside our country can be permitted to sue us. Tell me how would that illegal alien have been treated in his own town if he'd been caught breaking the law? Tell me this country isn't being broken every day by the mental disorder of liberalism. People with such twisted thinking should be placed in a straitjacket. 2005. Many of you understood what I was saying then. Many of you have been with me since then. But the establishment Republicans called me a renegade and an outlaw. They wanted nothing to do with me. And here we are now, some 20-odd years later, almost 20 years later, and it's gotten so bad that the borders have completely been erased by Joe Biden, who is now claiming he's going to do what Donald Trump did. Can you believe this? A voice that cries in the wilderness in the dark times. And what's the use of it all? I mean, I don't have to do this in the morning. Instead, I could just get up and worry about the world just like you do, or go on my merry way and do what I do. I would say that I have to do this in the mornings to keep myself from going totally nuts for when I see going on. We have an outright criminal administration ruining America. And if you think it's Joe Biden, you're mistaken. Yes, I know. I heard all of the names. I heard Obama. Sure, he's involved. I've heard the name Valerie Jarrett. I get it. She's involved. But the real head of the snake may be Nancy Pelosi. What's going on in this country is like the Staccato bust out in The Sopranos. But you have to be a Sopranos fan to follow what I'm saying to you. Anyone know what the Staccato bust out was of the sporting goods store in New Jersey? That's what's going on. The United States of America, under this administration, has become this sporting goods store that they're busting out. They sold the credit a long time ago. They sold off almost all of the goods in the store a long time ago. Okay, see, there's too many references that don't make sense to people anymore. It's not that I'm too smart for the room. The room just isn't here anymore. So I'm now going to go to the communist plot in my latest book, which should be read by every school child in America. This should be a book like Mao's Little Red Book. When Trump wins, he should make sure every school child has to read this book. It should be on every desk in the country. There's a little subchapter here called Just Ask Mao. You know who Mao is, don't you? And here's what I wrote. It's short. I've been studying Mao, Engels, and Lenin since I was 18 years old. I've read all of them. I've read some of the most obscure Bolsheviks that people could ever imagine. If you go to Google and search socialism or communism, the definitions have been changed so much that college students don't know the difference. They say, we're not communists, we're just democratic socialists like in Norway or Sweden. They don't know what they're talking about. I went to the source of all this because the man I'm talking about was the biggest mass murderer of the last century. It wasn't Hitler, it wasn't Stalin, it was Mao Zedong. And he wrote this little red book, which was very popular in San Francisco in the 1970s. All the cool little commies were walking around carrying a little red book. What did Mao have to say about socialism and communism? He said that they are one and the same. Never mind what occasional cortex says. Mao Zedong wrote in his little red book that the Chinese Revolutionary Movement, led by the Communist Party, embraced the two stages of revolution, the democratic and the socialist revolutions. He said that they are different revolutionary processes, but lead to the same thing. He wrote this, quote, "The democratic revolution is the necessary preparation for the socialist revolution, and the socialist revolution is the inevitable sequel to the democratic revolution. The ultimate aim for which all communists arrive is to bring about a socialist and communist society." Mao makes no distinction between democratic socialism and communism. What Mao says is that the first stage is a democratic revolution. Ultimately, though, he wanted a completely communist society. This is what Bernie Sanders is working for. He says, quote, democratic socialism today because he knows that it is simply a stop on the train ride to communism. It's very short and not very sweet. This is an important book. Every school child should read this book. It's not about the money, it's about the ideas. It's not about the hits. It's about the shits who are running the country. That's not bad. That rhymes. Now, I could now go on to some other stuff today, and I could do the news if you want, news, views, and reviews. It's still early. You wanted me to do the news? Biden invokes executive privilege to prevent release of recording with special counsel Hur. What is he hiding? Gee, I wonder what he's hiding. What is Biden hiding? How about everything? Biden, his general counsel, his DOJ, and D.C. courts have systematically stripped Trump and his associates, including his attorneys, of every privilege protection. But now Biden and Garland are asserting executive privilege to prevent the House GOP from accessing recorded Hur interview. Do you think that the morons who go on TikTok would understand any of this? And if they did, would they understand it? No. No, siree, Bob. For whom the clock tolls. Chimes are ringing in the background. Let's see if I get my metronome going for the OCD crowd. Drinking my first cup of coffee, which is about a half a cup of coffee. Okay, are you enjoying this? You want Uncle Mike to do it? Then keep on listening. Tell your friends about it. I told you it's not about the numbers. It's something I said to you when I was in the radio days. If you throw a stone into a calm pond, you watch the ripples go out in that calm body of water. You are those who will spread the ripples of truth throughout America. Whether it's one person or 5 or 10, whether it's at your kitchen table or your church, you will spread the truth. We will survive this. One way or the other, the nation will survive. When I first began in radio in 2016, I'll never forget, I compared America to Portugal. And I said, Portugal was once a great power, and now it's reduced to just sort of a small nation on the Iberian Peninsula. And no one knows that Portugal once ruled the seas. You look at some of the great killers of the Americas, some of the great slaughterers of Native Americans, they were Portuguese or Spaniards, which is ironic when you consider all the Latinos speak Spanish, which was the language of the conquistadors. I mean, this is interesting. Most people of Hispanic heritage did not speak Spanish till they were conquered by the Spaniards of Spain. This is something to think about. They're speaking the language of the conquerors, not their native language. That's very interesting. The native languages of the Middle Americas would be what the Aztecs spoke, what the Mayans spoke. Some of those people know their native languages. There was a resuscitation of these languages in the recent past, but how many of them really speak the language? Just as when the Jews went back to their homeland, to Israel, they chose to make Hebrew the national language, which was their ancestral biblical language. It's very interesting. But that's a topic for another day. Let me go to the news for you, because that's what I think I want to do right now. I want to see how the news looks. First, I'm going to jump over to Twitter with you. And I want to see something. I want to see if this is coming up on Twitter. There it is. There I am this morning. Hi, Mike. I'm watching myself talk, which is crazy, actually. I mean, technology is so overwhelmingly interesting. You can watch yourself speak on another platform. On another platform. You realize how free I am because Musk owns Twitter? Do you realize that one of our greatest innovators, a man equivalent to Edison, with what he has done and is doing in this country, is vilified on a daily basis by the vermin in the media because he owns a platform that they despise, they don't own. They own everything else. They own Judy Woodmuff of NPR. They own Jay Crapper of CNN. They own half the people on Fox. Of course, it goes without saying, ABC, CBS, and NBC is wholly owned by the Soviet government, the Soviet States of America. But they don't own the only free channel left, which is X. I remember the days Jack Dorsey owned it. I was shadow blocked and shadow banned all the time, just as I am now on Facebook. I mean, it's pathetic what Facebook is under Zuckerberg. It's frightening. Look at this idiot. Musk doesn't do S. He's a front man. Who is this moron? A non-entity, probably never went to college, didn't invent a thing, and he's putting down Musk because that's what he read on the NPR platform. Well, you own SpaceX? You idiot, you? Let me go to the news before. I don't want to get distracted. See, this problem with comments, I get drawn. It's like I'm a former teacher, so it's like having the kid in the back, the heckler, say something, and responding to the heckler. Okay, I'll begin with Breitbart News Network, one of the more reliable sources, a great one. Let's see what they have to say. Biden asserts executive privilege over audio of interview with special counsel, seeks to block her tapes from Congress. DOJ claims Garland can't be held in contempt. Can you believe it? They're right out of the Soviet Union. LA supervisors vote to have taxpayers fund legal bills for pro-Hamas activists arrested by Joel Pollak. Ron Klain returns for Biden prep debate. Okay. Here's how the woke left captured corporate America. Jon Stewart mocks Pelosi's insider trading. Jon Stewart is another pimp. Jon Stewart and Jay Crapper are blood brothers of the same type. They're the same tribal animals that crucified Hitler. Crucified Jesus, pardon me. That was a mistake. I looked at something else. Jon Stewart and Jay Crapper come from the same cut of the ice cream bar. They're the same garbage that crucified Jesus. Joe Biden asserts exactly. Israel on Golan going public with criticism. I'm not interested right now. Let Israel just do its job. Mexico City cops find high-end brothel and casino run by Chinese mafia. That's their problem, not mine. Democrat JP dismissed charges against Arizona State pro-Hamas protesters. Why have the Democrats embraced the radical Islamists in the Palestinian movement? How is that even possible when many of them are Jewish? Because they've lost their mind, that's why. Oh, let's go to the next site. New York Post. I enjoyed the naked pictures. Big Apple fights back. Would-be attacker stabbed multiple times after wild caught-on-camera ambush of New York City couple walking their dog. Oh, God, no. What is this now? Another animal attacked someone with a dog? Another street animal? New York City BLM founder arrested after berating cop during caught-on-camera confrontation at NYPD officer's manslaughter hearing. You're a vagina. BLM is a criminal organization. We know that. They should be in jail, all of them. Trump, flanked by Rep. Matt Gaetz and Lauren Burbett, rages against conflicted judge sham hush money case. Biden's office is running the trial. Of course it's true. It's a show trial out of the Soviet Union. Meryl Streep reveals her favorite love scene was with this Hollywood legend. Can you believe that an old hag like Meryl Streep still has a publicist who can get this old hag into the New York Post talking about her love scene from 55 years ago? Would-be attacker stabbed multiple times after wild caught-on-camera ambush of New York City. What is this about? I got to see this. A man's planned ambush of a couple walking down a Queen Street, my hometown, backfired Wednesday when the pair turned the attack around, leaving him with multiple stab wounds, police said. The 37-year-old animal crept up behind the duo as they strolled with a young dog near 49th and Broadway in Woodside around 2:45 in the afternoon. Surveillance footage shows the suspect tossing his coat on the ground. before pouncing on the other man who, due to a foot injury, was riding a scooter alongside the woman holding the puppy. So he creeps up behind a couple. And the couple fights back. And the 37-year-old animal goes to jail with multiple stab wounds. Soon found himself in a headlock. The supposed victim, wearing a medical boot in his right foot, tossed his attacker on the ground and began pounding him with blows, a mission the woman quickly joined in on. The mugger desperately tried to escape, but the couple continued pummeling their would-be assailant, dragging the dog along as they pushed and kicked the man. They should have had a pit bull so he could continue to bite. The trio finally separated but continued shouting at one another, seemingly ready to jump back into fisticuffs. The victim backed up several paces toward the security camera, showing a shocking bloody wound near the crown of his head. That's when several bystanders, who appeared unbothered during the tussle, stepped in between the couple and the man. The initial attacker was taken to Elmhurst Hospital with stab wounds. Now, why we have to treat muggers who got beaten up in an attack at a hospital and waste the hospital's valuable resources makes as much sense as giving medical care to illegal aliens who sneak across the border, while our veterans are rotting in the hallways of VA hospitals. Other than that, yeah, I'm a real humanitarian. Boy 15 stabbed in head near Queens School as surge of NYC teen violence continues. Man 34 stabbed, steps from Lower East Side subway station. No, I don't miss New York. 3 killed as plane breaks apart in air. Was it a Boeing? No. Okay. Teen accused of firing 26 shots from AR-15. This is another George Floyd lookalike. A woke Washington, D.C. judge is facing by after he opted to cut loose an 18-year-old accused of firing more than 24 rounds from an AR-15 into a car full of people. Lloyd U. Nolan Jr., a judge on the Superior Court of the District of Columbia, that's an oxymoron, last week ordered Amonte Moody, what a name, where did they come up with names like Amonte, to be released on house arrest ahead of his trial, despite acknowledging that the teen's alleged actions could have killed someone. So he sprays basically an AR-15 full of bullets, 26 shots into a car, and the psychopathic judge releases him on bail. The teen, because he's a George Soros puppet. Why is George Soros and his son not arrested, immediately tried, and deported to Hungary? Why? Because we live in the United States of America. Take a picture of the judge, Lloyd U. Nolan. I'm doing the buck teeth. Shows genetic deficiency. Unbelievable. Judge deeply tied to a George Soros organization and has openly posted about identifying as woke in his now private Facebook page. How is George Soros allowed to do this? How is this even possible? Why is the teen out on the streets? Okay, I can't read this anymore. It's too early in the morning. Zoomers have declared that wearing eyeshadow, this is on TikTok? That's what they're reading about eyeshadow? Is this country going to be able to survive this generation? Whatever this generation is called, this generation of stupid morons, illiterate, dumb, stupid morons. They're worried about eyeshadow. Oh, it's a TikTok trend. Unbelievable. Okay, I can't even read it. I'm sorry. Let's go to another website here before I leave you for the day. How many minutes have I been with you already today? Where is this? It shows how many minutes. There, I've been with you 29 minutes already. Isn't that enough? You know, I don't have these hats. These are my old hats. I have them copyrighted. Don't steal them or I'll sue you. I'm not in business anymore. I don't need to sell floor mats like Bill O'Reilly did. I don't need to sell dental braces like Mark Levin does. I don't need to sell yarmulkes like Ben Shapiro does with his name on them. Has Ben Shapiro inscribed any yarmulkes yet for sale? Ben Shapiro would sell like the air from his belches if he could. They're so greedy, these people. No, they're not for sale. Maybe one day they will be. Let's see, any other news out there that's worth talking about? I think that if there's any more news, I'll get sick from it. Newsmax. I like Newsmax. I'm on their network. I do great shows. Of course, they're leading with the most important story that we're living in a Biden banana republic. Biden blocks release of his special counsel interview audio. What are they hiding? The Republicans are trying to hold Attorney General to the feet to the fire, contempt of Congress. So Biden steps in and blocks the release of his interview with Mr. Hur. Why? Tank fire kills 5 Israeli soldiers. Bad. Ipsos poll, war on Hamas costing Biden votes. U.S. Gaza pier completed. Aid soon to flow. What do you think that the Hamas is going to do with the pier that we're building for them? With the United States building a pier to bring in aid. What do you think they're going to do with that pier? They're going to bring in roses and avocados? Israel moves in on Hamas stronghold, pounds Rafah. Well, the Arab Spring break is over. You're not going to see much more left of that. Oh, God. Carrie Lake, everyone misses Maganomics. I'm bored of Carrie Lake. You know, I don't listen to these stump speeches anymore from these people. I've heard it all before. They're all saying the same thing. There's no creativity. Okay, there's no more news to report. Stock hit record highs as inflation slows, grocery prices fall. This is the Drudge Report. I'm sorry. No. Inflation's not falling. It went up to 20%. It's not falling. President fears first son Hunter will serve prison time over gun case. Fox poll, White House race this close, which means Trump is ahead by 10 points. Because most Republicans do not respond to polls. The polls are all skewed towards leftists. Here we go. U.S. Intel chief warns of increasing threats to election. Blah, blah, blah. Right, because if Trump wins, it means it's a fake election. Seinfeld's Teflon legacy could finally be at risk. Duh. Who cares about Seinfeld? He's a puppet of Larry David, the Jewish renegade. The man who spits on his own heritage and hates Jews, who makes a mockery of Christians and Jews. Seinfeld is not real. Jerry Seinfeld, or Steinfeld, is nothing but a puppet of the bastard who's done more harm to Jews than anyone in the history of the Jewish American experience, who is who? Larry David. Putin and Xi vowed a deepened partnership as Russia advances in Ukraine. This is amazing. So the day before we hear that Russia massed 500,000 troops on the border of Ukraine to crush them, we're told that Putin has syphilis, cancer. He's a lunatic. He belongs in a mental hospital. He's dead. He has cancer. Remember for a year the propaganda from the CIA put out by Jay Crapper? Putin has cancer. Putin has syphilis. Putin's insane. Russian troops are gone. Russia's defeated. Zelensky is George Washington. I never saw anything like this. Crawling in the slime of the American media. Romney says Biden should have pardoned Trump. I saw that yesterday. What sense does that make? What the hell does Romney have to say? He's irrelevant. Romney should go on a mission for the Mormon church to Samoa and seek, what do you call that? When you make up for the sins you've committed. Like you commit sins. That's what Romney should do. He should go on a mission to Western Samoa and live in a hut for 3 years. Zelensky speaks out amid assault, the world's fault. This guy's freaking insane. What a cokehead he is. So we give him F-16s, we give him weapons, we give him $100 billion. And again, not enough. You didn't give me enough. I want more. I want atomic bomb. And you gave me atomic about hydrogen bomb. This is the Ukrainian way. We got the tanks. Now we want the tanks. Well, they blew up the tanks. Now we want the F-16s. We got the F-16s. We want atomic bomb. You give us atomic bomb, we want hydrogen bomb. Now we want American troops on the ground. That's the Ukrainian way. What a stupid nation. Can't they change this guy? What a loser he is. Zelensky speaks out amid Russian assault. Who did he speak to? Judy Woodruff? The situation in Ukraine is so serious that President Volodymyr the Penis Zelensky had to cancel a planned trip to Spain to look at his mansion and come straight to Kharkiv. the country's second largest city, which is again in real danger from the Russian advance. Duh. With exclusive access, ABC News joins Zelensky on a tour of a hospital in the city with the penis Zelensky, where he met soldiers injured in northern. They have no soldiers left. He killed an entire generation. Yeah, I know. Take it easy. I keep forgetting I'm a heart attack survivor. This is the problem. Is you survive a heart attack, so years later you think you're immune. You forget you're one breath away from another one. The final one. No excitement. No surges. Do the meditation, Michael. Breathe in, breathe out. Da-da-da-da. In each ward, he stopped as an officer read out the names of each injured soldier. Did they give him enough coke in the ward to keep him going? He approached each bed like Hitler and presented them with a medal. But it was a rushed visit. The president's safety is always a concern, but this trip to Kharkiv was a risk, and his team moved quickly around the building. Can't they get a new front man for Ukraine? This guy is such a goddamn loser fraud. How are they using this putz? It's America's fault, said the penis. It's the world's fault, said Zelensky. They gave the opportunity for Putin to occupy, but now the world can help. How did we do this? We just gave him another $60 billion. What does he want now? Dialogue is good, but we need help now. We need American troops on the ground. No. We have lost all our men. We're using teenage girls and people from old age homes. Now we need American blood. That's what we need, American blood. We need our two Patriot systems. We need American Patriot systems. I told many Americans are worried about how much money is being spent on Ukraine, and this election is going to be an issue that American voters pay attention to. That money is not given to Ukraine. It's money spent in American factories, creating American jobs. And we're not just fighting for our freedom. If not Ukraine, it would be another country. That's such a lie. The money spent in American factories by the greedy bastards in the military-industrial complex. May they all have cancer of the prostate. May all of them get cancer of the colon. Sickening. I can't take this lie anymore. I have to stop this. I'm going to get sick reading the news. Fatal heat wave testing India's ability to protect 1.4 billion people. Ugh. Imagine how it stinks over there. No running water in most of the country. Ugh. Imagine how India stinks. I never liked India. I like Indian people, don't get me wrong. But I don't want to go to that third world country. Like, they used to go and like bathe in the Ganges. It was full of human feces. Idiots. The American hippies would go there in the 60s and bathe in the Ganges River like they thought it was like sacred. Turds were floating by. Stupid. You think idiocy just began. You're mistaken. You want me to keep going and laugh at the news? Megalopolis. Francis Ford Coppola accused of chaotic set behavior. I haven't seen it. I can't comment. At all. He put $140 million of his own dollars in it. It sounds like he has senility. Herpes cure on horizon. Gene therapy eliminates 97% of virus in mice. Oh, good. Now the psychopaths can have sex with mice. I see. They've cured herpes in mice, so now you can open up a mouse nightclub, and the sickos can now have sex with mice. Dutch woman, 29, granted euthanasia approval on grounds of mental suffering. That's one of the saddest stories in the world. Vietnamese furious over Jane Fonda Day in L.A. I would be too. She's a piece of turd. She should have been arrested as a communist operative years ago. Ugh. Citing her advocacy for social justice and in environmental sustainability, Los Angeles County leaders, the people who destroyed Los Angeles, last month declared April 30th as Jane Fonda Day. Members of the Vietnamese American community sharply criticized the decision to honor the actors on the date, known as the Vietnamese community as Black April, in commemoration of the fall of Saigon. Remember, she stood on an anti-aircraft gun? Climate change. There's more hot air coming out of her mouth than there is coming out of the atmosphere. Jane Fonda Day. Unbelievable. Little Saigon. Why is that woman still on the catwalk? She's disgusting looking. She smells. Ugh, I can't even look at the picture of her. She's 86 years old and she still thinks she's hot. What's wrong with these women? Don't they know when to get off the goddamn stage? The beautiful thing about men like me is that I'm not up there for my body. I'm up there for my mind. Shut up, Jane Fonda. Ugh. To elevate Hanoi Jane over the Vietnamese community, Americans who sacrificed their lives and the loved ones they lost to communism, is deeply offensive to the freedom-loving Vietnamese Americans who bear such tragic and painful memories of the Vietnam War, said Rep. Michelle Steele, Republican Seal Beach, called the decision unconscionable and urged the board to rescind the honor. Really, good luck. Oh, my God. Anna Jane Fonda. It's frightening. This is terrible. Fonda told Barbara Walters during an interview in 1988 that sitting on the gun was a thoughtless and careless thing to have done. She apologized to Vietnam War veterans. Yeah, right. She took the side of the enemy. Any other country, she would have been arrested for it. Well, anyway, that's what's going on in Los Angeles now. Biden's upcoming graduation speech, Royals, Morehouse College, a center of black, blah, blah, blah. Oh, my goodness, what else is in the news? I can't even... What do you say to a Vietnam War veteran? You say nothing. You let them suffer in pain, and you then celebrate the 10 million illegal aliens that Biden brought in. Well, I guess that covers it. That's the news, views, and reviews from Michael Savage today. Let's go to my own website. It's small, but it's been there for so long, it chugs along. My latest podcast, I Am the Eagle, America on the Brink of a Big Bang Moment. It's a great podcast, and you can get it wherever podcasts are heard, and you should download the podcast. The last podcast was Which Side Is God On in Gaza? The Israelis will fight with their fingernails if need be, and I pointed out that over 800,000 Jews were kicked out of Arab countries when Israel was founded and all of their possessions stolen. They'd been in these Arab countries for centuries. Here, look at my website. Biden and Trump agreed to 2 debates with first set for June 27th on CNN. Would-be attacker stabbed multiple times after a while. Caught on camera ambush. The world's fault, says Zelensky. That's fact! Dutch woman granted euthanasia. Dem Rep Phillips. Biden needs major course correction, real attention on fixing inflation, border or phase 24 wipeout. If it was a fair election, Trump would win by 20 points. If it would be a fair election with, no write-in ballots, no machine votes. You want to vote, you go to a booth and you vote like in any other sane nation. Pro-Hamas activists take over UC Berkeley building after deal to end encampment. Throw them all in jail. It's not protest anymore. Pro-life activists sentenced to years behind bars, including a veteran and 2 women in their 70s. You're saying we're not living in a sick country? All they did was protest outside an abortion clinic. 2 women in their 70s, they're put in jail for 4 years. You're telling me we're not living in a goddamn Stalinist dictatorship? Colombia's grad's mic gets cut off during anti-Israel commencement rant. See a Palestinian with a headscarf on? She's graduating Columbia. You hear this? School of Public Health. Inflation is 20% under Biden, pushing small businesses to the brink. Restaurants are going. They can't even survive. Hara, a school principal, is caught choking and slapping and whipping a young student with a charging cable at a Florida private school, but he's an African-American, so no charges will be brought. Oh, featured stories. Papa Savage is a young man left in this world in 1970. Still on my website. Oh, my goodness. Oh, it's not a bad website, michaelsavage.com. Like you said years ago, the Nazi gave up the jackboot and put on the tie. You know what I said to you years ago on the radio in the 90s? I said, when Hitler returns, he will not be coming down the street wearing a swastika with an Pa band. He'll be wearing a headscarf chanting to Allah. Look at this moron. I support protests even if I disagree with them. You idiot. They're not protesting. They're burning. They're threatening other people. You idiot. This is not protest. It's violence, you schmuck. Okay, let me go to the Jerusalem Post. Hit the like button. I can't even read this. IDF tanks kill 5, wound 7 in Gaza-friendly fire incident. So they kill their own people. Well, it's terrible. It's happening. I can't read this either anymore. It's getting me crazy, all of it. Hezbollah drone hits IDF Air Force Base in North. Who's this? How's this going to end? You know, it's strange. Under Trump, we had peace between Arabs and Jews. Now we have the brink of the Third World War in the Middle East. We have the brink of a Third World War with China and Russia, and this putz is running for the presidency again instead of being impeached for destroying the world. And America's playing a game with Israeli security. They send over Jake. Who's this moron? The one who looks like half of the Laurel and Hardy crowd? Jake Sullivan, the weakling? The guy who looks like half of the Laurel and Hardy crowd with those watery eyes of his. How could he be the national security advisor, this guy? As an envoy of President Biden, because he matches President Biden's inner vision, that of weakness and anti-Semitism. Well, I think that's it, folks. It's enough for the day. I know many of you like when I do this. I did it. I got it off my, off my chest. Da 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 da. I used to play this on the radio. Shall I close with a morning prayer for America, for whatever it may be worth? Can I give you a morning prayer? Do I have to look at a holy book to pray for America? Yes. Okay, shush, my baby. Go back in the box. I've given all the TikTokers OCD. They have to call their doctor for medication. You'll be healthier for letting it all go, as many of us do. It is actually part of my health program now, is to get on the air in the morning rather than grinding my guts over what Biden's doing to this country. Just letting it out. I can't take it anymore. They're actually killing us. They're killing us. They flooded the country with 10 to 12 million illegals after 30 million illegals came in before them. How can this country survive this? Prayers. You think prayer is going to help you? Maybe it'll help you. It's not going to stop anything. I think God left the theater. I don't know. Maybe I've lost my faith on the Biden. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe I become totally cynical. It's why I did yesterday's YouTube. I'm not in a prayer mood. I could go get the Bible and make a prayer, make you feel like I care right now, that I think God's going to come down and save us. Remember I did a thing on God and mythology yesterday. You know, is God a myth? I can't take it anymore. When you have a brainwashed half of America that thinks that there's going to be fair presidential debates with Jay Crapper, who's an operative of the Soviet American government, how can you have faith in this country's survival? You have a senile half corpse who's in the White House. How could he even run for the presidency again? Any sane nation, any sane party would have retired him. Not that I'm a fan of the cackler, but at least she's cogent. She may hate America. She may be a fork-tongued liar and a fake anti-white hater. You know, her name is Harris. That means she's of Irish ancestry on part of her lineage. And as her grandfather said, Kamala, how can you say that? We kept slaves. He said that to her, but she makes believe she's black. But you see, America's filled with such stupid people, they actually believe she's a person of color. I don't know, maybe I should read a childhood story. You know, years ago, I did a great book called The Savage Life. People say, why don't you write a biography? There is one. It's called The Savage Life. It's got some great childhood stories, but today is not the day for it. I don't want to do it. I'm the son of an immigrant, which gives me special privilege in America. I know what it's like. There's the astronaut in the family, Samuel, with his little store, 548 East 13th Street, Manhattan. I'm a native New Yorker. There he is. Came with nothing. Built himself up a little business, actually tailoring suits, making suits. Can you imagine how hard it is to make a suit? You ever try to sew a button on a shirt? There's my poor brother in a wheelchair. I have total sympathy for the handicapped because I come from a family whose heart was broken by this. Poor little boys. Oh, don't get me started. There I am as a weightlifter, as a young boy, and as on the rifle team. Imagine we had rifle teams in high schools in Manhattan. No one ever shot themselves or ran through the hall and killed anyone because there was a special way to get on the rifle team. You had to pass a really hard test. You know what the test was? You had to sit down with the men who ran the rifle teams. They were all Korean War veterans or World War II veterans. They looked you in the eye. If they didn't like the way they looked, they said, "Get the hell out of here. We wouldn't put a gun in your hand, you moron. Get out of here." They looked you in the eye. They gave you why do you want to be in the rifle team? They looked at you and talked to you. They didn't consult a book or give you a biochemical test. If they didn't like the way you looked, they kicked you out of the room. Get the hell out of here, you freak. Imagine a guy coming in with a dress and an earring wanting to be on a rifle team. They would have been in Creedmoor. Well, whatever. Yeah, I was on the rifle team. It was fun. I remember we shot those guns. And it was such a break from geometry to go down into the period when you could go to gym or a team. So I went on the rifle team. We shot, I think they were Mossberg 22s. That's what they were. And the smell of gunpowder cleared my sinuses. There we are, rifle team. I swear, every city high school had rifle teams. There I am, the young Michael. Young Michael in high school. Rifle squad, geo representative, chemistry lab squad. I love chemistry. Honor roll and honor guard. I didn't even know I was on a chemistry lab squad. I love chemistry. If I had another orientation, I would have been a chemist because I worked with a lot of chemicals as a child, like cyanide. No, I always loved to watch potassium when you threw it, magnesium when you threw it into water, how it released its energy. And I was always fascinated by chemistry. You didn't know there were rifle teams in high schools in New York City. Can you imagine today? Rifle teams in high schools. Okay, folks, we've had a good time. Hit the like button, subscribe so you know when I'm next going to go on. YouTube notifies you if you're a subscriber. It's free, by the way. I'm not selling you anything. I don't have to. I don't want to. Thank God I'm free of that. You know, it's beautiful not having to sell you anything. I mean, I could make these hats up and sell them to you. You'd want them. I know that. My grandmother stayed in her high school for rifling. I don't know. Liberalism. You have any questions for me? You want me to answer questions? I've been on too long already. It's 53 minutes. Okay, 7 more minutes, only questions. Come on, ask me some questions. I can see them coming up on the chat. I'm on a different site now. I'm on Restream, where it goes live on YouTube and live on Twitter. It could go on 20 different sites at once. I only use those two. I am not on TikTok. I'm not on the other site. What's it called? Revolver? Whatever it's called. I don't even know what they call it. If you sell the shirt, I will buy it. What shirt? I have no shirts. Oh, the work shirt? You can buy them anywhere. You mean the hat, don't you? Where do we get that hat? I don't have them. These are from 30 years ago. I found a few. Do you own Bitcoin? No, it's garbage. I wouldn't own it. It's bad enough that we have a paper currency to begin with. Now I need a double fake currency. I own gold coins. That's all. They're in the bank. Have you been to Sydney? Sydney, Australia? No, but I met a lot of nice Australians in Fiji, the years I would collect plants there. How can you figure out what's nonsense from what's factual? Great question. I'm just happy to hear your voice. The hat is awesome. Everyone wants the hat. Tell you what I'm going to do. If there's a company there's a patriotic flag company that I see advertising. If they want to license the Savage Nation hat, which says Borders Language Culture on the back. I'll give them the licensing agreements. They can contact me somehow. Any other questions? Let me shut off the screen. That'll watch how the color changes. See? The light goes off the face. I look better. They want the hat. They want another cooking adventure. Leave me alone with the cooking. I'll do it when I want. Okay, I'm doing serious business now. I'm joking. I don't care. I'll do cooking shows when I'm in the mood. What do you think of Senator Tuberville from Alabama? He's great. Who killed the Boeing whistleblower? Who killed Obama's valet? Hey, Doc, go into psychiatry. It's too fast. The questions are jumping. I actually thought of being a psychiatrist when I was in high school. It's interesting, by the way. You know how kids used to ask them, what do you want to be? See, the people I came from, they'd ask us, it's starting at age 6, what do you want to be when you grow up? Today, they're afraid to ask that for fear the child will have a mental breakdown. Instead, they ask you whether you want to commit suicide or do you want euthanasia at 6. They say, what do you want to be? What do you want to be? Who are you going to marry? Who are you going to see? They conditioned you to get married, have children, and have a career. So I remember I was thinking I'd be a psychiatrist. I was always good at listening to people and figuring things out, even as a child, because there was so much pain in my family as a child from my poor brother, Jerome. There was so much pain in the family from my poor brother being born that way that I learned to cope with my mother's pain and deal with her pain by entertaining her. So I remember that we were, poor people, lower middle class, whatever you want to call it, immigrant family. So we didn't have a lot of access to people of education. We didn't know professors. We didn't know what that was even. Thank God we didn't. They were all communists at that time. So the people who were authorities to us were like doctors. And a doctor in those days would do a house visit. So I remember my poor father had a heart attack, and the doctor would come visit the house and do house calls, and I would ask the doctor questions. Like we'd sit there as he would, father with the stethoscope, whatever. They didn't know very much on how to treat heart attack victims in those days. So I spoke to the doctor after he used to with my father. I said, I'm thinking of becoming a psychiatrist. And he said to me, why do you want to be a psychiatrist? He said, you're going to listen to people's problems all day long. And it's going to make you very unhappy. And then I realized he was right. I didn't want to listen to people complaining to me. So I didn't become a psychiatrist. Interesting how things change the course of your life. And there's no question. Now I'm getting like stupid questions. Smoked salmon was cheap back then. I got morons on now. Can I have an intelligent question or I'll stop? If I get one more moron, I'm just going to stop. Don't ask me about pastrami in New York. I don't eat that garbage. I never did. Dr. Savage, how can America realistically survive what needs to happen? I'm giving you a house call right now. Hey, Doc, the truck driver in Louisiana, listen to you as I was passing through Pennsylvania, coming up on Baltimore. Now you keep people like me going. How could you listen to me while I'm on the air in a truck? Are you still in San Francisco? I'm here in California too. Yeah, I love the Bay Area. I've not been to San Francisco in a year. I've been getting the yen to go over the bridge into San Francisco. I had a dream the other night that I was in North Beach and I was walking past all the busy restaurants which no longer exist. And I saw all of the Italian cooks working. They were all Italian cooks. It wasn't Mexican. I have nothing against Hispanic people. Don't get me wrong, but it's not. We don't get Italian food in San Francisco. We get a Mexican Italian food, which is okay. You get used to it. I can't read that. Jumping too fast. Good morning, Michael. God bless you. Thank you. Is God listening? But I see no questions. Check out the Army Corps of Engineers. What kind of future will our grandchildren have in America? Go to TikTok and you'll see. Walter Cronkite, did you know him? I grew up on him. He was a faker. Walter Krankenhaus, I called him. He was a functionary of the Soviet Americans. As San Fran gets worse, do you plan to move? I was just in Florida. I have a house in Florida. I loved Florida. I couldn't take the climate. I had to leave. I had to come back here. Now I can't stand the climate here. I love being on the ocean. I love the people in Florida. They're free. Everyone rides around with American flags, Trump flags. People don't have a sense of doom and fear, gloom and fear like they do in California. They weren't hiding. I went to Mar-a-Lago. I met with the president personally. There were 6 other people in the room. That's right. I did. He reached down and shook my hand and invited me in. Trump likes Michael Savage. Never mind what the others say who can't get to meet him. He likes me. Do I like Arizona? No, I don't like arid zones. I can't live in dryness like that. I like Barry Goldwater, if that's an answer. What kind of future will I? Do you remember Jack Hirschfield? Oh, yeah, my Jack Hirschfield books. You mean Jack Hadfield, don't you? Asking me questions about bums in the streets of North Beach. No, I don't remember the communists of the streets of North Beach. They're all dead, aren't they? Okay, I'm not getting any questions right now that are worth. There's no questions. I should close with a prayer, but I don't have one that I could really read if God's really around. I think he left the theater. My book on God was God, Faith, and Reason. It's a wonderful book. And the most important statement in that book is, I never saw God. I've only seen snapshots, like when a baby is born, when a father is in a coffin at a funeral, stuff like that. I've seen snapshots of God. When they lower your mother into the ground and the rabbis throw earth on your mother's casket, you'll see God. You'll see God. Does God exist? What is the nature of God? What is the nature of man? I never saw God. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Now the earth was unformed and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God hovered over the face of the waters. Genesis 1. Wow. I think we should leave it as a mystery. I think the greatest thing about us God-fearing people is to realize God is invisible. And I've told you before why God is invisible. The reason it's set up that way, God could have appeared if he wanted to. But God chose to be invisible for a reason, because he knows man is so clever that if God appeared, man would mock him and say you didn't really appear. He must remain invisible and the unknown. I was reading a little book that my grandmother on my father's side, who was an atheist, by the way, gave this to me when I was 13 in my bar mitzvah. I never read it as a kid, but it was beautiful, white leather bound. It's still in perfect shape. I carried it all over the world with me. Fiji, Tonga, Samoa, the Marquesas, places you've never been to. Everyone's been to Fiji now. They drink Fiji water, but go into the Marquesas when I did and collect medicinal plants, as I did, 30 or 40 years ago. Why are so many people godless? That's a good one. That's a good one. Why are so many people godless? I'm willing to pay for a consultation. I don't want your money. I know you're going to say God that appears as Jesus Christ, and I respect Christians, and I'm talking about God, not his disciple, not his only son. I'm talking about God. So let me read you what the Bible says about God. Here are 13 principles in this prayer book of the faith. That's the Jewish faith. 1, I believe with perfect faith that the Creator, blessed be his name, is the author and guide of everything that has been created, and that he alone has made, does make, and will make all things too. I believe with perfect faith that the Creator, blessed be his name, is a unity, and that there is no unity in any manner like unto his, and that he alone is our God, who was, is, and will be. Here, finally, I believe with perfect faith that the Creator, blessed be his name, is not a body, and that he is free from all the accidents of matter, and that he has not any form whatsoever. Now, that's only 3 of 13 principles. So if you don't like Judaism, I can't help you. That's what Jews believe. And we certainly don't believe that Biden is the second coming of Christ, of God. The Bible says Jesus is God. No, my friends, Jesus is a disciple of God. He's God's son to Christians. He is not God. That's like saying Muhammad is God. Muhammad is a prophet to Muslims. Jesus is a prophet to Christians. Stop it. Jesus said that he will return. Are you ready? No, I'm not ready. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in any of that. I don't believe when the Jews say the Messiah is coming back either at all, ever. See, I don't believe. I was trying to say that to you yesterday. Don't drag me into mythology. I'm too much of a rationalist to believe in mythology. What I believe is what I see, what's happening in this world right now. And I believe America has been taken over by the enemies of our freedom and of our constitutional rights and have done everything they can to destroy this nation as fast as they can. And I believe that Obama is the Antichrist. And I believe one of the, I wrote about it years ago, scorched earth, restoring the country after Obama. What more do you need to know? He did so much damage to this country. What did I write in those years? Can the nation recover from Obama's scorched earth policies? Substitute the word Biden. Progressive policies and open borders have poisoned America. Our Constitution has been trampled by a divisive president. America is a third world nation of terror, riots, mobs, and chaos. Are we one bad election from losing everything? Now, when was this book published? Those of you who only watch TikTok and may have stumbled upon me. 2016. Roman civilization did not pass peacefully away. It was assassinated. America did not pass peacefully away. It's being assassinated by the Bidenites. Okay, now I've been with you for an hour and 6 minutes. I see no other questions. If I've disappointed you that I don't believe in the second coming, you'll have to forgive me my sins. Be a good Christian and turn the other cheek. Don't hate me. Those of you who've enjoyed it, hit the like button. Or subscribe so you know the next time I get in the mood, because I really don't want to leave you right now, but I have to. It's 4 minutes to 8 in the morning here where I am. I woke up, I went right to the microphone. I put on the hat, made a cup of Java here, got the cup with the M on it. Oh, it's got an M on two sides. Bought that in a trinket store. I like it. It's good for the show. I did news, views, and reviews. I agree with you. I'm tired of cheek turners. It's actually the death of America is there too many good Christians. See, if Christianity was a more militant religion like Islam is, we wouldn't be where we are today. Maybe I should do a whole show on it's time to stop turning the other cheek. Huh? Maybe we should stop turning the other cheek. Maybe that would save America. Let them turn the other cheek. Go out and enjoy nature. It's cloud. So I was telling you one thing before I go. So I was in Florida. I really love the ocean. I was there for 10 days. I went for my son's birthday. I went there only for that. And there was an added benefit. I was invited to Mar-a-Lago to a party by my good friend who owns Newsmax, who will remain unnamed. And there's such wonderful people there, including Aaron Klein, who's an advisor to Netanyahu, and amazing people. They were the finest people I've seen, because I have a few acquaintances in the Bay Area, but it's not like Mar-a-Lago, which is the epicenter of the conservative movement. It is the mecca of the conservative movement, and not everyone can get in there. It's still on the match. Great security, thank God. Not like it was when he was president, but still very tight. I went to a great dinner, came up to the bar, and there were some incredible people. I met new people. I met old friends. I was greeted like an old friend after living in a vacuum here in the Bay Area. And the food was great. The drinks were great. The company was great. And then the cherry on the cake was, as toward the end, I was invited in to see President Trump in a private room with about 6 other men and one woman, I think. I don't remember. And he was holding court. It was an amazing moment because he still really likes me. He doesn't need me. I don't have the audience I once had, but he knows me. His son, after all, had me on his show on his show. So they still know I'm knocking him out of the park. I met his son's wife, who's a great woman, Kimberly Guilfoyle. She was very, very sweet, nice lady. I know that family going back many years. I know her and her brother. I knew her father. In fact, I broke into tears when I was talking to Kimberly at the bar. about her father's last days on earth, who he was dying of cancer. He was a great man, Kimberly Guilfoyle's dad, wonderful Irishman. And he was dying, and he asked for one thing. He asked to go out on my boat at the time. It's, Jesus, 25 years ago. And Kimberly was there, and her grandchild, her child, which was his only grandchild, was there on the boat. And I had a Grand Banks at the time, a 42-foot Grand Banks. I took them out on the bay, and he was dying. It was so touching. And I powered the boat myself. I was very proud of my seamanship. You say it's easy. It isn't easy on San Francisco Bay. You got to know what you're doing. You can get swamped very easily. So we went out, and I took him on a tour from Marin County to the San Francisco. We did the whole line, and he sat up there. And last days on earth, he enjoyed being with his daughter and his son and his grandchild. And he came back and he gave me a compliment. And he said to me, Michael, he says, you drive a boat as good as Kennedy. That was the nicest thing anyone ever said to me. By the way, I no longer have a boat. But I spoke to Kimberly about that at Mar-a-Lago. I didn't break into tears. I was tearing up. People said, look, he's crying, and so is she. So what? Makes me weak? Did I have emotions? That's all. What do you want me to apologize to you for being an emotional, sentimental person? Instead of a corpse, a rigid corpse? This bay is a very challenging bay. Sailing is harder than power boating. I had a sailboat when I first started boating in Hawaii, and it was very tough to sail. I so admire sailors. If you Christers keep doing this, I'm going to banish you from all of these sites if you keep it up. If you keep starting in with convert to Christianity or Jesus is I'm going to just knock you off my sites. I can't take it anymore. If you're such a great Christian, you wouldn't be challenging anyone who isn't. Just stop it. And that's the end of it. I don't like people who try to forcibly convert others and tell you your religion is meaningless. It means you're not a true Christian. True Christians are accepting of others' faiths and are accepting of others' beliefs. Fake Christians think that beating people up over their religion makes them a better Christian. And that's all I want to say. Hit the like button or don't. I understand Christianity better than you are. Believe me, I understand Christianity better than you converters are. So just go away. And why don't you waste it on a Muslim? Go outside a mosque and tell them to find Jesus. See what you get. So my latest podcast is the most important part of the show every week. Thanks, Helen. Thanks, Doug. And goodbye. And if I'm still with you tomorrow, I'll be back tomorrow. I'm going to end the stream right now, so hold on. Don't get scared. Don't get scared because I'm going away. When Uncle Mike leaves for the day, you're going to have a void. It's empty out there. I know that. My voice fills the void, doesn't it? My voice fills the void. Without me, there's nothing but emptiness. You need Guru Mike in these harsh times. You need Mike to save you. You need the sonorous sounds of my voice to keep you alive and to keep you going. I could have been a guru, but I never wanted to be. I didn't want 16 Rolls Royces and 75 slavish women. Bye now.